built in Maine, where the grit runs deep. Stories of the bold who don't lose sleep. From small town starts to the next big leap, we're talking real moves, not just cheap talk and dreams. Ideas that grow, lessons that stick. If you're building your own, this is it. This is the Red Claw Edge. Now over to our host, Sean Packard.
Well, welcome to the Red Claw Edge. I'm Sean Packard. Today we have a very special guest, Ira Mandel, and you have formed the Cool Neighborhood Association.
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit, kind of about your background and kind of what led to that.
sure. Well, just about me in general, the kind of personality I have and how I've been ever since a little kid. And everyone who knew me growing up assumed I was going to become a doctor. And I didn't argue with them and didn't fight it. But actually, by the time I got to medical school, no, by the time I got to college, I thought, well, sure, I could be a doctor if I want, and I probably really be satisfied, but I don't want to sell myself short. So I took every course that I could, and in the end, I became a doctor because it's just part of my personality that I feel compassion towards people. I want to help them, and so I became a family doctor, um, because that what better way? The whole family. I delivered hundreds of babies and had a lot of kids in my practice. And I did lots of things over many years. And towards the end of my career, I felt like, well, I was thinking about retirement, down the road, and someone had suggested doing hospice work. So I ended up working for a hospice in Tampa, which is the largest nonprofit hospice organization in the United States.
Wow.
And they had 8 full-time doctors, so it was like a whole training program. So I became board certified in hospice and palliative care and did that for the last 12 years of my career. And I did that at Penn Bay Medical Center in Rockport. The first day on the job, the psychiatrist caught me on the hallway and asked me if I was aware of the drug addiction problem in the Mid-Coast. I said, well, I just moved here, but I'm not surprised. I wasn't shocked to hear that. I said, did I also know there wasn't a single doctor in all of Knox County who would treat them? Now, the hospital had a whole unit where they would detoxify people, get them off the drugs, but then they would send them out the door with like a weak prescription of something. And after that, wouldn't help them anymore. So being the kind of person I was, who would, if I was a fireman, I suppose, I would run into burning buildings. So I felt like I was running into this burning building called drug addiction.
Yeah.
And I said, I received no training in it. And most of the doctors I knew never received any training in it. It just was kind of ignored by the whole medical profession, including Penn Bay Medical Center. So I said, sign me up. I'll learn. And so over the next 12 years, I treated hundreds of people for drug addiction on the side because I was really there to do hospice, and I did it and really found that very gratifying and helped a lot of people. But I learned so much about addiction, and it's very complicated. In a way, it's simple, but it's complicated. It's very messy. It's very hard to treat. There are many people who have great success stories, and they're a joy to hear. But I learned a lot. And so, long story short, I was living in Camden during COVID, made a decision to move to Waterville, and ended up getting this big old house on Cool Street, which I thought was a really cool name. They couldn't figure out why it's called Cool. That's very unusual for a name. I didn't realize it was the name of a Revolutionary War veteran.
Yeah.
And his name was John Jacob Cool, hence the JJ Cool that we use for our domain name. So anyway, this big old house, 100 years old, was left vacant for 3 years before we moved in. And it was the 4th old house that I bought that I had to rent. But this had a really big yard. Most of the houses in the area are very small lots, small houses. My house is a big house on almost a whole acre.
Wow.
And on the road, it's 250 feet long,
Mhm.
on the sidewalk. So I was out there after we bought the house. We bought it in February. We kind of moved over the next few months. So spring came, and I saw the whole yard was a mess, weeds everywhere, everything was overgrown. So I spent a lot of time out there trying to deal with all that. And so got to meet a lot of people walking down the street.
Yeah.
And being the person I am, I like to say hi and get to know and talk a little bit. And about 2/3 of the people they'd look up at least, and 1/3, they were buried in their phone or something, or they're pointing their ears. They got earbuds in or something. Anyway, but some people would stop and talk, and some of the people who would stop and talk were clearly people who were struggling. You know, uh, they usually didn't offer a lot of details, but usually once they felt comfortable with me, they would kind of share some personal things, including addiction, homelessness, all kind of behavioral, struggles, mental struggles. And so I put out Adirondack chairs and a picnic table and a water cooler with uh, with cold water in it. I invited people to come and sit down and talk. So I did that for a whole summer, and then like the next summer, there was a couple of tragedies on our street, including a youth taking his life. And the reality also was that of all of my immediate neighbors, they didn't. No one talked. I didn't. I talked to one neighbor one time. Talked to another neighbor one time because a package was delivered to my house that was hers.
Yeah.
And across the street was another family. I didn't realize there were three generations in the family. I only met one person. And I thought between these tragedies and no one's talking to each other. I mean, I had a lot of friends in Waterville, but just not in my neighborhood. I thought this was uh, just a tragedy and unnecessary. Why was it like this? I think it was in 2019, the U.S. Surgeon General wrote a special report on the epidemic of isolation and loneliness in America, where actually it's the youth are the most impacted, but it affects everybody, and elderly who get, they're somewhat isolated physically on top of just, not knowing people. But it's become, and now with electronics, there's a lot of factors. A lot has changed.
COVID.
COVID, made it worse, but it was already getting bad before because the Surgeon General report predated COVID. So, I figured, well, I knew that the South End had a neighborhood association called the South End Neighborhood Association. And I thought, well, I should learn about what they're doing. So I met with them and I talked to them, and they were actually founded about 25 years ago in a collaboration between the Waterville Police Department, I think the city government, and just local interested citizens.
Yeah.
And the purpose of that was to deal with a lot of poverty that they had and crime.
Mhm.
So they had neighborhood watches, they had community events. They just, they tried to do a lot of things to give people healthy things to do. There was like a basketball camp for the kids. The teen center was established, which is owned by KV CAP, Community Action Program. And they have a bicycle clinic. They used to give out bicycles. They can't
Yeah.
afford to do that anymore. But anyway, they did a lot of things. I thought, well, this is great. But
I was a prodigy of that. I went through the South End Teen Center very young, and they had a program there called Yeti, which ended up working with the Children's Home for Little Wanderers, and that was Yeti Youth Empowerment Through Employment. And Ryan Nealand and Steve were the two that kind of headed the program, and it was really good. So I hope that they have something similar. Still have, because it's huge. It helped me, and I'm sure that they still help tons of people.
right, I was just there last Wednesday for the first time. Yeah, so Amy Morris, who runs it,
Yeah,
gave me
yeah.
the tour, and Anna, I'm blanking on her last name, that's terrible. She was running center, still is. She was there as well, so it was great to see both of them. Yeah, they have a lot of activities, a lot of things going on,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so I thought this is great, but, so I began to reach out and start to partner, seek partners, seek interested people, to see, who could join in and be part of a new neighborhood association.
Right.
Obviously, the city wasn't, asking me to do it. The
Sure.
police department
Yeah.
wasn't asking me to do it. Actually, nobody in the neighborhood was asking me to do it.
Right.
But whenever I mentioned it to people, or just the things that I was doing, like putting the water cooler out there, putting the chairs out there, and I'm sort of famous now for my signs. I got a lot of really, really nice notes that I left, like, these slips of paper people could write messages on, and they could actually, thumbtack them to the bulletin board that was right there. They were like love notes from the neighbors. Say,
Yeah.
"What a great idea. We really need this, would love to have a healthier community, where everybody knows everybody. It's like it used to be, even if it never really was quite the
Right.
way they
Right.
remember, still a lot of things we've lost a lot of things that were really good."
Yeah.
Uh,
You classically, you think about when somebody moves in that they'll give them an apple pie or, bake them something, right? And, I don't know if that ever happened, but it definitely doesn't now, right? Like,
right,
you barely know who lives next door to you, let alone think of making them something
right,
as a welcoming gift,
right,
So, I would say times have changed, but, like, I just think that it's a reality that we hope for. So,
right.
um
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of yearning. There are very few people who don't think it's a good idea. There are some people I refer to as shooting stars
Yeah.
that, they've left me notes with great enthusiasm, um, and, yearning to be part of this. Then life happens, and
Right.
I get that. I know
Yeah.
that. People are busy. People, they have responsibilities. Things happen. So, in the full year that we've been in existence, now going into our second year, um, it's a grassroots, organization.
Mm.
There's no, you don't pay it for to be a member, and actually, so I'm thinking about changing the name
Yeah.
from the Cool Neighborhood Association, because it's Cool Street, and that was supposed to include all of the areas, up to Range Way and
Sure.
Western Avenue to KMD, roughly. But, it was never really meant to be a geographic limiter.
Right.
It's just a name, to
Mhm.
give it a name. But people from anywhere could join, and
Mhm.
people from Oakland and Fairfield and China. So if they were in China, Asia, they could join if they wanted to,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't say no to anybody. But I think, changing it to the Cool Neighbor
Mhm.
Association, well, I think it'd be a little less confusing then,
Yeah.
because it's not, we'll drop the hood, and here's the cool neighbor. It's like a badge of honor.
Right.
You're a cool neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so anyway, so we got started, and so since it's all totally voluntary and grassroots, I have a list of probably 200 names and contact information, and I reach out to everybody at least monthly, often more often than that, um, with the hope that they will respond and accept invitations to participate in certain events. Because what we need to do is get together. I think right now people are stuck in their own homes, their own electronics, or whatever. They're just not really interacting with their neighbors. They don't know who their neighbors are. So how do you break the ice?
Right.
How do you get them to? It's a sort of a catch 22. You're dealing with people who are isolated and disconnected
Yeah.
for a reason, and you're trying to get them to be connected and not be isolated. Well, that you just don't snap your fingers and expect that to happen. So if you could, come across, as we've been trying to do, and I think with a lot of success, it's coming across positively, no pressure. This is just a friendly neighborhood organization. your neighbors, people. It's about doing good things together, healthy things. So, just for instance, this during the winter time, it's really hard to get people out because the weather's lousy and they're sick and lots of things are going on. But two things that we did do is one of the neighbors, uh, an unusual thing. Usually, most of the activities require me to initiate, and I hope to see that change over time, where more of the members themselves are coming up with the ideas. And we'll talk more about our website, which now gives the people the opportunity to look at some specific ideas and add their ideas to that. But this one neighbor, he wanted to give people lessons in salsa dancing.
Yeah.
So that was, I think it was early December, mid-December. So we met at the Green Block off of Main Street here. It wasn't a big turnout, maybe about 8 people altogether. And I have 2 left feet, and I like to dance, but I'm terrible. But but that's part of the fun, because you just go and you're stumbling around and you're struggling to to get your steps right and crash into people, and that's fun. And you're with other people, so and that was a joy. That's one thing we did. The other thing is, I've never been ice fishing, and I spoke to some neighbors, and they'd never been ice fishing, and a few had, but, one guy who I thought would help me get it going, he says, well, he's about my age, maybe a little younger, and he says his bones are getting old. He can't really sit out there in like the cold weather, looking at a line hanging in a hole in the ice.
Right.
It's too cold. So he said, well, smelt fishing, you're in a cabin with a wood stove and they give you the bait. You don't have to just show up, pay, I think it's $20 per person for 5 or 6 hours. So I managed to get 14 people
Well,
to go in early March, I think it was. Yeah. And so there we were for 5.5 hours. We caught 3 fish
hey.
out of the 14 people over 5 hours. But that wasn't the point. The point was to be together, and we had a blast. And it wasn't because we were all stinking drunk. We weren't drinking.
Good.
I mean, I think on average, we each had a beer. Maybe some people had one or two more, but no one was drunk. It was all very friendly, loving, and it was just an opportunity to hang out. So those are the sort of things. And so we like to have
Yep.
potluck dinners, and so I actually have one coming up.
Yeah.
It's on Saturday, April 18th, at the Lutheran Church of the Resurrection on Cool Street. It's 36 Cool Street. It's almost right across the street from my house, which actually, in terms of partnerships, I have to give them
Right.
kudos
Yeah.
for being the most consistent, solid, real partner. They invite us to their events. When we have an event, we invite everyone who goes to that church. So they let us use their hall, roughly once a month, unless there's something else scheduled, and we'll move to a different date. But they've been very gracious, and they're very much wanting to support the community, to be part of the community, and so they've been a wonderful partner. So that's where we're going to meet again at the Lutheran Church, and it's potluck. So we'll ask people to bring a dish to share, and the I ask people just to let me know if they're coming, just so we can have a sense and maybe coordinate the food a little bit, just make sure not everybody brings, potato salad. So it'd be Ira, IRA, at jj hyphen
Yep.
cool.org is my email address. You can send me a little message that you hope to come. And if you can't, that's okay. And if you show up unannounced, that's fine too. But it's just nice for planning purposes. So events like that, we feel are very helpful to introduce people to each other.
Yeah.
We had some people come who their immediate neighbors showed up, and that was the first time they met.
Yeah.
So that's a success. So we're looking forward to 2026 as a year to really step up the game with the website that you helped us with is a wonderful website. And it's got a nice little jingle on it too. but the good old days,
Yeah.
and we'll touch on some of those things that people used to do.
Huh.
But it also has an activities page and a calendar.
Right.
And the activities page has, I think it's about 15, 16, something like that, maybe 20 different kinds of activities like games, a walking group,
Yeah.
cooking
Singing.
group.
Yeah. And people can put their own in to
Right.
suggest something. Yeah, it's definitely, one of the things I guess I want to ask is like all the neighborly things. What does that encompass, and what does that mean to you to be like neighborly
Right.
for you?
Right. Well, it's really caring.
Yeah.
It's someone who will welcome you, listen to you, hear what you have to say, laugh with you, cry with you.
Yeah.
It's really love. Some people might be put off by that word, although other people thinks it's great because they're all about love.
Yeah.
But it's really about caring, uh, and and being there for each other to have fun. And basically, it's like family. Family we wish we had, and not many of us do. Or actually, maybe many do, but it seems like people I know, their families have struggled over the years.
Mhm.
A lot of the family members don't talk to each other. A lot of estrangement. So we're all family ultimately, and a healthy neighborhood is a big family of people who look out for each other, help each other. What I think one of the activities that's listed on the website is to volunteer and help neighbors.
Yeah.
The one thing I did actually, I listed as another activity uh, that uh, we did this last winter. I mean, what kind of crazy person decides to personally build a new building on their property? It's January. Yeah, but so I got this kit and I call it the cool meeting place. It's about 10 by 10 uh, cottage made out of cedar. Came as a big kit with 1,800 pounds of material. So I got about 6 men come and help me put it all together. So I consider a barn raising.
Yeah.
So that was the whole point. I could have bought one. Hey, build, had someone build it for me, have it come pre-assembled, and just
Mhm.
plop it on my property, but that would defeat the point. That would be like going out and buying fish as
Right.
opposed to going fishing with your friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if anybody has not driven past your place on Cool Street, it's evident that it's a what would seem to the naked eye as a modge podge of signs but if you just get a moment to just stop and get out of your car or maybe walk by that location, there's so much love poured out to it, and especially when the warmer weather comes, from note taking, to being able to have some cool water on a hot day, to just seeing the little tiny details in statues and flowers that have been planted there, and I think even that alone is just a little touch of love that isn't around anymore, as we have been talking about. And I think it's an inspiration to anybody who comes onto Cool Street, and I'm sure that there is more to come, and I think it's very cool to see the growth, just over a year even.
Right.
So,
Right.
um, yeah.
Yeah. So the sunflowers have turned into a whole other thing.
Right, right.
Yeah, because just a side story, my wife and I like to feed the birds. Bird feeders all over the house, and they include sunflower seeds in the feeders, and many of them have fallen to the ground and taken root and grown.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, they're such pretty little flowers. These little plants. They're really food for the birds. So I thought, oh, I should buy some real seeds and plant them. And I did. What I ordered, I didn't really pay much attention to what I was ordering, but they were called mammoth. And I planted about, I think there were 50 in the packet, and 30 of them, got planted on my property, and many of them did reach 10 feet
Right.
tall,
Yeah.
and the flowers reached the 15 inches diameter. And so I had like a good dozen of them across the front of my property. So people would, and when they'd be driving by, they'd slow down, and some would actually stop. They'd get out and take pictures of pedestrians. They would stop and admire them
Yeah.
and stop and talk. And so I figured, well, actually, for all those flowers, I have a 5-gallon bucket now of sunflower seeds that I harvested from those flowers, and now we're giving them away for free.
Yeah.
So there's a box it's like a lending library box on the tree on the front of my property. Lots of big signs, 8-foot banners and free sunflowers.
Yeah.
So people are at least 100 people have come by so far in the first couple of weeks.
Wow.
So that would be just add more beauty to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Just conversation, gratitude for sharing
Yeah.
things, offers to help, bring me seeds of other things, and
Yeah.
so yeah, that's community. That's
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Yeah. I remember you mentioned kind of some of the people who aren't doing as well, coming by and you kind of helping to step up in the community and aid those people. If you don't mind sharing,
Sure.
kind of what has that been like, and then I think a lot of people want to help, and so after you're done explaining what steps can be taken for some people that may want to help and they just maybe they're in their own way, and they don't know how to help.
Exactly. That's the perfect setup for me to reply because I have this all thought through. Yeah. So yeah, I have the background. I'm treating people for drug addiction. And my orientation is to listen. I'm trained as in the medical field. Uh, had a lot of years or a lot of exposure to the psychiatric issues, and been trained quite a bit to deal with the more challenging population out there, people who struggle. So, but yeah, it's all the time or frequently you drive to Home Depot and you see at the red light, you see usually guys, but sometimes it's women with a sign asking for money so they could get food or a place to lay their head or something. Or other times you could be leaving Hannaford and someone will catch you in the parking lot asking, for 20 or something. And people see this and I think, there's mixed reactions, but I think for the most part there's a lot of compassion and a wish that they knew what to do. They want to help. If they give money, are they going to buy drugs? I mean, how can I really help this person and know that I'm helping them? And so that people need to some guidance as to what to do, what not to do, how to approach it, and also to function with it in a team. So like they're not putting themselves out there, and they can also choose that they would like to take a backseat role.
Mhm.
Some people say, "I'd love to cook food," so we contribute to the homeless shelter,
Right.
and some people want to volunteer and actually work there and help the people who are uh, been homeless and their lives are a mess and they're a mess and they could be really stressful to deal with depending on what they've dealt with in their lives. So volunteers sometimes feel like, wow, that would be too much for me, but I'd like to cook them some food.
Sure.
And I'd like to do their laundry. I'd like to do some other things. So, we were there's the National Association of Mental Illness, NAMI is called. They offer training, and first understanding the illnesses that you're and the conditions that you're helping people with, so that you begin to understand, well, why is this person like so sensitive? Like I
Right.
have to be
Right.
really, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to set them off, or they may arrive already upset. And then how do you deal with that? How do you calm that down? Also, in the Waterville itself, the paramedicine department of the fire department, Deputy Chief Everett Flannery is in charge of that. They're also available to come out just about any time to show up to deal with a situation out of control. There's also the community resource officer, Todd Stevens, who does the same thing, and other people. There's many nonprofits in the area. So it's a matter of teaming up, being trained and educated, getting organized. And that's why we put up the small building on my property, is to have a quiet place, with a roof on it and doors. And we have warm blankets and space heaters and a tea kettle when the weather's cold, but a place where people can just come and talk. And very often, that's really what they need. They would just need someone to hear them. And then if you could do more is better. And the more that we would do, I think, is pretty much know who to call.
Yeah, we've talked about this plenty of times, but like a liaison system where we may not be the resource, but we know of the resources. And I think being that key factor in today's time, it's so hard to navigate. There's so many resources out there, and I think that it's a lack of knowledge of where they can get a hold of those resources or how the steps to get there, or maybe just to meet the criteria even. Um, I think there's a misconception with the fact that there's a lack of resources. I think a lot of people do want to help. I think there are some lack of resources too, don't get me wrong, but I do think that it's just that nobody understands the steps to get to those resources and how to get these people who may need that help to those, to either to meet the criteria or to those locations to actually receive those benefits. I encourage more people to go to these places like the Lighthouse Soup Kitchen, the resource office or the fire department, and even your association, and kind of identify how they can help. I think everybody is under this conception that you have to financially have resources to be able to help, and that's not. Just your time and ear is more important than the finances in your pocket.
That's
So,
right. That's right. Yeah, and say, let's pick a couple of things. Well, food.
yeah.
Well, there's housing, food, and then people say struggling with addiction. So housing is probably the most challenging. Um, uh, some statistics is half of all people who are unhoused is another way to refer to their situation. Half of them are only unhoused for a week or less
Mhm.
because they got evicted or something happened, and they couldn't live where they were anymore. But within a week, they're back uh, with a roof over their head.
Mhm.
And the system is designed to try to help with that, and sometimes just their own resources, they manage to
Yeah.
get that resolved. The next 40%, after that first 50%, the next 40% are people who are homeless for a year. And usually they have a serious problem. Usually it could be an addiction or a behavioral problem or a physical illness that prevents them from being able to maintain a residence. Um, so uh, they need like housing up to a year. And then the last 10% are the chronically homeless,
Yeah.
the people who tend to live on the streets. And there's it's complicated. Some people think, well, they're choosing to live on the streets, and maybe some people have decided that the streets are the safest place for them. They've been in shelters
Or
and they've had bad experiences.
stuff stolen, they've been hurt, whatever.
Right. So it's not like they want to live on the street,
Right.
but they feel like of all their choices, that's
Mm.
the least of the bad. And so just try to understand that, and so we should try to route them to the right people. Basically, the homeless shelter will try to. You don't have to stay there. They offer help to people who are seeking shelter, and so just making that referral should be sufficient for that
Mhm.
one. In terms of food, the soup kitchen is great.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's like hundreds, like 400 meals a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
They crank it out, and it's great food. I volunteer there. I've
Mhm.
eaten there. Some people eat there. They have plenty of people eating there who, like, they don't look like they're poor, and maybe they're not. They just like the food. I thought, you know, but they also, I think they actually give out 2/3 of the meals
Mhm.
hand out. They give them and they take it. They don't eat it there. The other
Right.
third will eat it there. Um, there's churches and other agencies that provide food, and the soup kitchen is also offered to give me and the cool association, some food that we could then give out ourselves. So there may be meals ready to eat so that they'll keep and they can give whenever they're needed. So there's a lot of help in that area. And then in terms of addiction right now, Waterville is mm, in desperate need of more.
Yeah.
Augusta's got plenty of services, Bangor, Lewiston, but Waterville is very limited services available. More are coming. I'm glad to hear that. And also, some of the local providers helping with addiction, they're planning to open a resource center
Right.
on Elm Street,
Yeah.
working with Todd Stevens, who's the liaison. So it's a matter of just taking advantage of what's here,
Yeah.
but yeah, we can get people to help most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
People want it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of explain some of the next steps for cool neighborhood or neighbor association,
Right.
and you obviously you have all the activities on the site, and you kind of expanding from there. But what would you say your next like 5 years might look like?
Right. Well, so there's actually it's encouraging. So Massachusetts formed a coalition
Hmm.
of neighborhood organizations. Now, Waterville just has the two that I know of. Now, there's another very nice organization called the Newcomer Club,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Newcomers Club, and there's not so much for newcomers. If you're a newcomer, it's fine. The group tends to be a bit older, more like in their 70s on average, but that's not bad. I think younger people would fit in just fine, but they may feel like it's a little not quite their crowd. But anyway, they're very good about getting together regularly. They have, again, it's like our activities list. Theirs is twice as long as ours,
Right.
and they're meeting all the time. And they do charge a small fee for a year. So I think what we want to do is to continue to emulate them, offer more activities, try to encourage those in the neighborhood or who want to be part of the association wherever they live, if they have an interest in something, to take the lead. They don't have to lead it by themselves, but if they say they're into knitting or cooking or gardening or what have you, that they would like to get something going, we would, I would help, other people would help. We would try to the Lutheran Church would help get these things going. And the more groups we have going, the more opportunities there are for people to get together. And we want it to be very comfortable where anybody can sort of just kind of be on the edge of the periphery of the event, maybe standing in the doorway or be out in the open air on the edge of the property, kind of watching and seeing if it seems safe and friendly. And if they want, they can come and join. There's no obligations at all. So we want it to be friendly, loving, caring, many different things to choose from. But the more things we can offer, the better. But I think, again, it's a catch-22 where we're dealing with a population that's not unique to the cool neighborhood or Waterville or Maine. It's really worldwide. We're very bad in
Right.
America. And so there's a lot of factors that have led people to become disconnected, and to get people active, that you don't snap your fingers, this is not magical.
No,
It
it's
takes
not.
patience and time, and I think that, by getting these things going, they can be attractive.
Yeah.
They can attract people to say, "Okay, well, this activity is something I like. I know somebody is going. Maybe I can go with them one time and see what it's like." And then once I get in, I think then we can all work together, get to know each other more, and it can start feeling more like the neighborhoods that we remember.
Yeah, yeah, and even if we don't remember them or we want to remember one that didn't really exist, then I hopefully form something that is reality,
Right.
and really who it affects the most, I think, is the youth. They grow up understanding that there is still, honestly, hope, and um, a sense of community and fostering encouragement and an understanding that we have each other's back despite maybe different walks of life whatever it may be. You have with you this the community poster, and if anybody has seen that online, how to build a community, it is a bit dated, but at the end of the day, it's so true. All these things are so simple. If you don't mind,
Yeah,
what are some of them that point out to you?
sure. Well, the one that's probably the most dated is the first one, but I just changed it. So this is called How to Build Community. Number one is to turn off your TV. Well, you can say these days is turn off your electronics, because our cell phones are probably the biggest culprit of all, followed by whatever the other devices you have. So turn those off. The second one is very important. Leave your house, because even if you turn off your devices but you're sequestered in your house, you're not going to meet too many people. So actually try to get out, get around.
When you think back to when, some of the older folks have said like, "Oh, I remember playing when, up until the lights would turn off." You know, Now as a parent myself, even like you don't want to send your kid out down the street, without fear of something, right? And we don't even know what. We're
Right.
just so it definitely has a sense of like, how do we change our perspective when it comes to raising kids in today's culture, and understanding that it is okay, especially if we have a sense of community around us where we all are just trying to look out for each other.
Yeah, or everyone's eyes and ears to
Yeah,
make sure everybody's safe.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Know your neighbors. Greet people. Just say hello.
Mm.
Look up when you're walking. Sit on your stoop or your porch. Plant flowers. Use your library. Play together. Buy from local merchants. Share what you have. Help a lost dog. Take children to the park. Honor elders. Support neighborhood schools. Fix it even if you didn't break it. Have potlucks. Garden together. Pick up litter. And we're this May we're
Yeah, we have
trying to
a
participate with the
clean up Waterville. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So there'll be hopefully the cool neighborhood will be involved in that as well. Read stories aloud. Dance in the street. Talk to the mail carrier. Listen to the birds. Put up a swing. Takes you back a little bit.
Mm.
Help carry something heavy. Barter for your goods. Start a tradition. Ask a question. Hire young people for odd jobs. Organize a block party. Bake extra and share. Ask for ask for help when you need it. Open your shades. Sing together. Share your skills. Take back the night. And the Senate has a night. I think it's in forget what month, June, where they have like 1,000 people show up and for a big celebration. So we join that. Turn up the music. Turn down the music. Uh, Listen before you react to anger.
Mm.
Mediate a conflict. Seek to understand. Learn from new and uncomfortable angles. Know that no one is silent, though many are not heard. Work work to change this.
Mm.
So, do we have this on the website?
We do. Yeah.
So it's on our website, jjcool,
Right. Well,
jj-cool.org. Yeah, so lots of great things here. I mean, this is brilliant.
yeah, I mean, it's truly not just community, but things you should be doing every day, whether looking to grow your local area or not. It's classically, I guess, common sense,
Right.
things that you ought to just do respectively. You probably grew up, and so did I, knowing what the golden rule is, and I think it's still taught, where you do unto others as you would do unto you, and there's obviously a list of wonderful things here that still ring true today that I feel like some of it's hard to complete, like it's not just out of our way, but it's just difficult, like, and that's where we have to lift and encourage each other up to be able to complete these things, and so all in all, um, cool. cool neighborhood association or a cool neighbor association, whatever the term, it doesn't matter. I think at the end of the day, it's an inspiration and it's an encouragement to those around that there is still hope. And hats off to you, Ira, for creating this and giving a sense of community back to one that I think is in a little weird limbo stage of, like, obviously not just coming out of COVID, but just in general in today's society. Like, how do we get out of the rut that we wake up in every day? Yeah, it's so convenient, as you said, with the phone in our pocket. It's become a sense of security for people and less so of a tool. And there's just so much beauty and love and community around us, and I feel like we gloss over it all too often. And so I look forward to all the wonderful things that your community and organization builds, and I'm glad to be a part of it, and I can't wait for what how it grows and where it goes. That's very key.
Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing to help.
Yeah.
And I want to thank all the others who are contributing and helping as well. I know, as I mentioned earlier, people's hearts are there. I think people want this. It's just hard to take the first step
Yeah.
and to reorganize their lives. What you said about young people is absolutely true. It's very well documented that this period of isolation, this situation of disconnectedness is harder on young people than anybody else. Um, but we need to start somewhere. I was thinking in terms of families, between school and children growing up, that they have a lot of needs, that the parents are busy, so it's not hard to envision how it could be hard for the families to participate, even though they have amongst the greatest need.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we'll deal with those.
Yeah, well, like anything,
Yeah.
it takes a first step,
Yeah.
and this is a really big one. But you and the community that you've built here are there, and the door's open, and you are there to encourage and help those who are looking to impact their area and grow with people. And the thing is, they don't have to be ready to be the ones to uplift people. They may need uplifting themselves, and you're such an encouragement and there to just help guide them. And the payoff is that one day they're going to help people, and that's the reality. Is we have to be there for one another, and we have to love and cherish one another. And life is short, as you know, seeing both sides from life to death. It's truly something to be cherished, and we can't take it for granted. So,
Right. Well,
yeah.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. And if you ever get the chance to stop by the cool neighbor association, make sure it's it's 47
47 Cool Street.
47 Cool Street, right in Waterville. Just take a moment, stop by, drive a little slower. If you get the chance, walk, get out of your house, and there's a lot to be seen right around probably your own neighborhood. And this is just one ever expanding opportunity to impact people who may need help or just get to know each other. Thank you, Ira.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Sean.
Cool.